Putin's talking about blowing up the West again, but are his thoughts well-founded? We're going to go over that today and a lot more here on the Speak the Truth podcast. I'm your host, Matt Tardio, and today's episode is being brought to you by GhostBed. If you're having problems going to sleep late at night because you've been too busy watching Speak the Truth podcast and all this knowledge is somehow blowing your mind, maybe it might not be the podcast and it might be your mattress. That is why we are excited to tell you about GhostBed. For over 20 years, GhostBed has been crafting high-quality mattresses with sleep products designed to help you sleep cooler, longer, and better. So whether or not you are a side sleeper, back sleeper, or somebody who tosses and turns like a restless spirit, GhostBed has a mattress that's perfect for you. Finding your ideal match is simple with GhostBed's mattress quiz, or you can chat with one of their sleep experts for personal recommendations. Their mattresses are made with cutting-edge cooling technology to keep you comfortable all night long, and the premium support layers ensure you wake up pain-free and ready for the day. And here is the best part. You can try your new mattress for 101 nights completely risk-free. If you're not sleeping better, GhostBed will make it right. Plus, with fast, free shipping, your mattress could be at your door in just 2 to 5 business days. Right now, GhostBed is offering Speak the Truth listeners with an exclusive deal. 50% off site-wide. Visit ghostbed.com/Rob and use code ROB at checkout. Don't let a bad mattress haunt you any longer. Upgrade to GhostBed today and wake up rested, refreshed, and ready to dive into more truths you love. That is ghostbed.com/Rob with code ROB for 50% off. Over Christmas, a cable inside of the Baltic Sea ended up getting damaged. As a matter of fact, Finnish authorities actually went out and sought the ship out that they suspected of doing it. Now, when we pull up on the map, when we take a look over here, what we're looking at, let me zoom all the way out for you guys. Here is Ukraine all the way down here. We're talking about Estonia all the way up here in the north. Now, Estonia within itself has this cable that's running in between it and Finland, and there is a buttload of electricity that ends up flowing across it. If you want to take a look at the actual map of what it looks like, I have it pulled up over here. They actually have quite a few cables, but the one that is in question is right up over here. And this cable ended up getting damaged, and what's being said, a reduction in almost 60% capacity when it goes down to electricity. Now, both Finland and Estonia are saying that homes were not affected when this cable ended up getting taken out, but it's bringing into question a lot about Russian sabotage. Now, what's even crazier is it said when they boarded this ship that you're looking at on your screen that they ended up coming across a bunch of different like top secret communication devices. They ended up finding a bunch of laptops and all sorts of crap on board this ship. Now, all of that's coming out from like local newspapers and resources and things of that nature, but I haven't seen an official statement by the Finnish authorities claiming that yet. As a matter of fact, I could only find one official statement by the Finnish authorities on this matter. That statement is right up here on your screen, and it is Finnish police said they boarded the tanker overnight and that they are investigating a case of grave sabotage. Now, destroying a cable of that size and even diminishing capacity by 60% is roughly the equivalent of taking out 1.6 million households worth of electricity off the grid, but somehow Estonia and Finland still managed to survive. They're saying that they have enough electricity that they're able to make at their own mainland, that they don't have to worry about the cable, but it's a nice to have and not necessarily need to have right now. But it's scheduled to take several months just to repair this dang cable. Now, interesting enough, this particular article from Lloyd's List does talk about how the ship ended up cutting the cable underneath the ocean. They said that according to Finnish police, that the cable was likely cut by this oil tanker dragging its anchor across the bottom of the ocean, therefore cutting the cable or severely damaging the cable. But interestingly enough, Lloyd's List said that they actually had a confidential informant, if you will, who was some sort of a maintenance tech for this ship back in like June, and that they had provided them lots of confidential documents as far as what was taking place on the ship. They said it had really obscure things going on, like a bunch of electricity going to one part that shouldn't have been going there, a couple other things like that. But the source also ended up telling Lloyd's List that it ended up getting a, how do I want to say this, an unidentified person or an unauthorized person who is not a seafarer, all right, on board of that ship. Now, that person ended up bringing on huge portable suitcases along with many laptops, and they had keyboards for Turkish and Russian languages. When calling at Turkey and Russia, the equipment was kept in the bridge or in the Monkey Island, and they said that the Monkey Island is at the topmost place on the ship. So While there is no official statement saying that this is in fact a Russian spy ship, according to Lloyd's List, they have at least one confidential informant that's giving them all of this information. They said that this information was actually verified to be authentic all the way back in June or July, or whenever they did the initial report on the ship. Now, I bring all of that information up because Putin's actually losing his mind yet again, threatening to attack the West. Check out this news interview.
В Санкт-Петербурге, когда вот резко активизировались в Европе и в США разговоры о том, что Киеву может быть дано разрешение на нанесение дальнобойных ударов вглубь территории России, вы дали понять, что это будет означать, что НАТО прямо воюет с Россией. На ваш взгляд, услышали они эти ваши слова, ваши сигналы?
Они мне об этом ничего не сообщали. Но, надеюсь, услышали. Потому что, конечно, мы должны будем для себя тоже принимать какие-то решения. Дело ведь не в том, что разрешат или не разрешат кому-то применять это оружие против России. Я уже говорил об этом и в своем самом первом заявлении, когда это было в Петербурге. Украинские войска не могут применять это оружие самостоятельно. Это могут делать только специалисты стран НАТО, потому что нужна для этого космическая разведка, которой у Украины, естественно, нет, мы это понимаем. Нужны специалисты, которые будут на основе данных этой разведки вводить полетные задания и целый ряд других манипуляций совершать. Это самостоятельно украинская армия делать не в состоянии, не может. Поэтому и то, что сейчас происходит, это делается все руками натовских офицеров. Вопрос только в том, разрешат они сами себе наносить удар вглубь российской территории или нет. Вот в этом вопрос. Ну и, естественно, мы должны быть на это соответствующим образом реагировать. Как реагировать, когда, где конкретно, ну, об этом пока рановато говорить. Но, разумеется, наше военное ведомство над этим думает и будет предлагать различные варианты ответа.
So, according to Putin, Ukraine can't launch Storm Shadows without getting, I don't know, some help from the United States or maybe even NATO officers that have to be programming all of these crazy things because Ukraine couldn't possibly do that on their own. There's no reason Putin would ever lie to us, right? Wrong. Here's an article from the Kiev Post. Storm Shadow missiles in Ukraine. Now, this portion of the article clearly outlines how Ukraine was given Storm Shadows by the UK first. Okay, given them by the UK first, but they didn't have any aircraft that were capable of launching Storm Shadow missiles. Not even F-16s are capable of launching these things. So what they ended up doing was taking old pylons off of RAF Tornado G4 fighters and equipping them to the Su-24Ms and the Su-24MRs. When they did that, they were then capable of carrying the Storm Shadow missile. Ukraine has actually used them to great effects, as in this video coming straight out of Crimea will show you. So let's be honest there, President Putin. Ukraine has been using the Storm Shadows since last year, over a year now, year and a half now. Ukraine's had these Storm Shadows, and they've been launching them against you quite successfully, even inside of Crimea. So what are you complaining about? Well, you're saying that NATO somehow has to be involved in order to make that happen. Well, guess what? The Su-24s don't have sophisticated enough frickin' technology in order to be compatible with NATO. They're just not NATO-compatible aircraft, so they can't get the GPS signals and all that crap. So how do these Storm Shadow missiles actually impact their target? I'm glad you asked, Putin. I'm glad you asked. This short video actually gives you a little bit of insight. They not only have GPS guidance, so in case you jumble up the GPS guidance on them, they're still going to function, because they also have radar that reads the ground and tells them where they're going based on map data that we have. Additionally, they also have like gyroscopic navigation, i.e. it's tilting, it's flying so fast, it's keeping track in its mind where it's going the entire time as well.
The Storm Shadow, a weapon of precision, power, and ingenuity. A missile that strikes fear into enemies and stands as a symbol of technological excellence. But what makes this missile so remarkable? Today, we're diving deep into the history, capabilities, and impact of this formidable weapon. The Storm Shadow missile was developed in the 1990s by the European defense company MBDA. Originally designed for the Royal Air Force, it was envisioned as a long-range, air-launched cruise missile capable of hitting high-value, heavily defended targets without putting pilots in harm's way. Its first operational use came during the 2003 Iraq War, where it demonstrated its effectiveness by neutralizing hardened enemy bunkers and command centers. Since then, the Storm Shadow has seen action in numerous conflicts, including Libya, Syria, and Ukraine, proving its worth time and again. So, what makes the Storm Shadow stand out? First, let's talk about its range. With a strike capability of over 250 kilometers, it allows aircraft to engage targets from a safe distance. The missile uses a combination of GPS, inertial navigation, and terrain matching for pinpoint accuracy, ensuring it reaches its target even in contested environments. Its warhead, known as Broach, is a marvel of engineering. This multi-stage warhead first penetrates a target's defenses, like concrete bunkers, and then detonates a second charge to maximize destruction inside. The Storm
Excuse me, I think I said gyroscopic inertial navigation. Excuse me. So the way it works is before they go and hook these dang things up to the aircraft, they have to know what the intended target's going to be. So while he says you have to have some sort of satellite freaking proficiency in order to make this happen, or your own satellites in order to program these things, you don't. You just have to have the grid coordinate of what you want it to hit. You have to know exactly where you want it to go. And you end up programming that into it. Then you program in a flight path. You can even program down altitudes that you want this thing to go on. And all of that stuff gets pre-programmed into this cruise missile. And then the aircraft launches and releases it when it's supposed to. That's how they're doing it. It doesn't have to be done via satellite and frickin' launched down from frickin' mothership in order to guide this sucker. It's literally pre-programmed before the aircraft even takes off. So does NATO have to physically be there on the ground to pre-program these things? No. They were actually given that information and technology by NATO when they were given the Storm Shadow missiles. So Putin, guess what? You can't really use that as an excuse because NATO's not involved other than giving them the weapon systems, just like you've received weapon systems from Iran and North Korea and everybody else under the sun that likes your stupid little mission that you're on. So you don't get to complain about it, Putin. And while we're speaking about dirty things about Russia, this gentleman from the Azerbaijan flight that got shot down over Grozny and actually ended up flying over the Caspian Sea and then crashing in Kazakhstan, this crew member actually came out speaking, and he's got some pretty profound statements that he ended up making. He ends up saying that not only did they get hit by one surface-to-air missile, he believes that they actually took 3 hits. 3, not 1. 3 hits. Now he said, and I quote, "We were landing in Grozny. There was heavy fog and we could not see the area. So the pilot made 3 circles over the city and turned in another direction." He said that they were hit 3 times. He said it was at that moment that we heard the sound of the thump, said the crew member, "and I went out into the cabin to calm the passengers. Then I felt that I was badly wounded in the arm. This was the second thump, followed by the third. After that, the captain decided that we would land on water. We gave the passengers the appropriate instructions, told them to put on a vest. After that, the captain informed us that the plane would land on ground." He said, "I had no hope of being survived. We survived thanks to the heroism of the pilots. This is a miracle." Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. I'll catch you next time. Peace, love, happiness, and God bless. I am out of here.